To do the primary data analysis that we've done, you've got primary data analysis and secondary data analysis. The primary data analysis is like gold. That's the stuff that nobody does. We've done that, and that meant that we built up a database of 65,000 creative industry businesses in London. Can I just pause there? 65,000.
So do you call them up every day and ask them if they've closed or not?
Yeah, exactly. And we had to clean that database and make sure that it was an accurate database. Then in order to do Shanghai and Beijing, we had a further 24,000 businesses database for each city, roughly. So I think for a private business to start to think about that, you know, in terms of the initial investment to do that work will cost them too much, probably. Once you've got that database, then there's gold to be made, basically, yes. But I think a combination of university, you know, I would argue, and I've been saying it a little bit today, but I would argue that Northeastern, for example, with its commitment to creative industries, it should actually is well placed to actually really get cracking on this and work with people like yourself to actually provide that kind of long-term resource to enable the creative industries really to grow. Because you can imagine, if you've got a database of 65,000 businesses in Boston, let's say, you can imagine what else you can be doing with that.
We also have something called an organization called the New England Foundation for the Arts, which has created a database called Culture Count, which is a place where people can voluntarily put this kind of data into it. And they also pull from all the different data sources that are available to them to sort of try to pool it all together. And you can actually use that. It's a user-friendly site to kind of pull data out of. It's not perfect. It needs a lot of work to include. That'll be one part of the conversation of trying to, of the council, of how are we going to sort of crack this data nugget. So we'll be shipping Simon over to tell us how to do it.
I think I need to say a name at Northeastern. The person who is actually the driving force behind Culture Count is Greg Wassel.
Yeah.
And he is an economics professor here. He and Doug DiNatale and another gentleman at Williams were part of an Adams grant that put this originally together. They have their framework for what they mean by the creative industries in Massachusetts. It's a much narrower definition, and that is there. They have this study. Also, NEFA, anytime you receive a grant from any arts organization in New England, you need to fill out an information profile. So if you were, say, going into Fall River and you wanted to say, I'm going to do a new industry, say music, I'm going to do something, you can plug in on the zip code, you can put that in, and you can come up with an economic forecast of what might be possible based on that. So the Counting on Culture database is actually pretty sophisticated at this point. And they can also tell you what the arts contribute in any one sector in the state. The one negative is Simon is doing the for-profit. This database is limited to the not-for-profit. So it is a limited one, but it's a very good structural framework.
Well, and one of the problems with, the biggest problem with the data is that the industrial code, and you saw a little bit of this, the industrial codes just don't know how to do these companies, you know? I mean, you can literally take probably the largest, you could probably take Turbine, the largest video game company here locally, and search for them for, they probably just made up their industrial code, basically, because industrial codes just don't know how to fit it. So it's, because we know there's at least 50, maybe 70 video game companies locally. We did our standard industrial code search, we came up with 9. And I've got a list of them. I mean, and I know half of them, so, you know, it's very difficult.
You're right about that, because in the UK, all the companies have to be registered with something called Companies House. But they are allowed to elect the SIC code that they require. Yeah. So if they can't find one that fits them, they just choose the nearest thing to it. Could be anything, you know. So that there is a fundamental problem. The other problem with SIC coding is that the SIC codes won't be changed nationally or internationally unless you have the evidence in the first place that the businesses exist. It's classic.
You said all subsectors are well established, I think was the phrase that you used. And I'm wondering if that is sort of a kind of a self-fulfilling issue there, because if they're too new, you have no way of classifying them as a subsector, so you have no way of even talking about it. So to say that all subsectors are well established seems kind of circular in the same way that you can't get the data.
Not at all. I mean,
No?
I was rushing through things, so I wasn't developing them quite as well as I should have done, possibly. But when we got into the definitional part of this, we actually spent a lot of time with the commercial associations and professional bodies as well, which is what government actually doesn't do very much of. And therefore, we put the revised definition to the commercial associations and the professional bodies and said, if this went to your members, would it look right? In other words, would it make sense? And we then revised the whole definitional frameworks accordingly. So from that, we used that then to look, we used that definitional framework, revised one, to actually then analyze the data and analyze the subsectors. So that's why we got some confidence in it.
Any other questions?
I can jump in now.
Yeah, why
maybe.
don't you pick up the table?
The way that I come to teaching full-time at Northeastern is from about 20 years of production experience. So working as a producer, as an animator in video games, in animated film, in commercials. And my specific agenda is to make sure that we have a workforce that's being put out there that properly supports the needs of what we're all talking about here. And it's a real challenge because it's balanced with almost a backlash against outsourcing, meaning 10 years ago plus, the big buzzwords were outsourcing, meaning all of our jobs are going overseas. And in the entertainment sector, it's almost been there, done that. Now to the extent where the economies are so flip-flop, we actually have foreign companies, meaning specifically Indian, Chinese, South Korean to some extent, who are actually coming here to start up businesses, to do